Well, you'll see how to start. All right. Is there any young people in the building? No? If you're a young person, say yeah, yeah. I see some laughter. All right. We youthful, we have energy, we are here. Come on, make some noise. If you're a young person inside here tonight, can you say yeah, yeah? All right. Okay. So we're here, we're alive, and we're here. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Abigail Ellis, and I will be your moderator for this evening. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, so we'll get straight into things. Calling to my favorite person, partner, right? Yes. All right. And so, without further ado, I would like to welcome to this platform Miss Jacqueline Blood, and she will usher in the presence of God this evening. Miss Jacqueline Blood.
Good evening to everyone. Let's reference God, please. Almighty and everlasting Father, we give you thanks and praise once again. We thank you, O God, for this is the day which you have made. We rejoice and we were glad in it. This evening, God, we gather here as one, united. We stand divided, we fall. So we stand united as one people this evening, God. And we pray that as we are about to open this session, that your blessings will be upon each and every one of us in this place this evening. Father and God, we thank you for what has already been done and what you're going to do. We commit each and every one of us into your hand this evening. The panelists, the invited guests, every speaker that will be here, even those who will be sitting in the audience and giving a listening ear, and whatever question they'll be asking. Almighty Jehovah God, I thank you for bringing us safely here this evening. And I pray that when it is finished, we will say it was well done. I commit each and every one of us into your hand now, and I pronounce your blessing upon us all. In Jesus' holy and mighty name with thanksgiving. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Blood, for ushering in the presence of Almighty God. And as young people, this is the moment where I think the moderator would say, have your seat. But just hold that thought. Just before you sit down, I am challenging everyone inside this room. You like to go places and sit by your friends. Yes, you like to sit on my window, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm giving everybody 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes to meet someone new. And I will know if you did it, because I'm going to call on you after and ask you what that person is. Yes, I will. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the point in the program where we meet and greet. So, your 2 minutes begins now. I like to comment here to make sure. That's what socials and forums are all about. Get to know the persons in the room. And don't just rush to the minister alone. Get to know everybody in the room. few seconds counting now. I see people sit down and you don't see sit down. You hope I have giveaways? You know, that's a very good suggestion. We will take that into consideration for the next forum. Alright. So since we met new persons and seeing new faces, being a former teacher, I like to call individuals. Yes. So I'm looking for someone to call. And I'll describe you by your top, your t-shirt or your blouse. And you will tell me the name of that new person you met. And whoever you call, they will tell me the name of that new person they met. And we'll keep it going. And I do believe I would like to start with my friend here. Lovely. In the rainbow colors. Stand and tell us your name.
I'm Shanta Collins.
Shanta Collins. Let's give Shanta a round of applause for the celebrate. Shanta, who did you meet for the first time?
I met Tanya.
You met Tanya Collins. Miss Tanya Collins. Welcome Miss Tanya Collins as she stands. Miss Tanya, who did you meet? Just so Tanya envy you. Just so Tanya brought things so close. But I'm seeing my good friend Anthony. Start Anthony. Let's give Anthony a round of applause. Mr. Anthony, who did you meet tonight?
Althea.
Althea. Miss Thomas, stand. Let's share them as Miss Stand. Miss Althea, who did you meet? Michael Lambert. Where is Mr. Lambert? Mr. Lambert, who did you meet, sir?
Right. I met Mr. Javon.
I do not believe that, sir. I do not believe you just met Mr. Matala. Name somebody else. Some of us don't be like that.
It's been a long day.
Wow.
Right? I'm a bit fatigued from like teaching and everything. So many of the names, currently.
So you did not meet excuses. Who did you meet?
Right. I met someone by the name of Lincia.
Lincia. Miss Lincia, stand and tell us who you met. Lovely. Come on now, Miss Lincia. What Williams? Kenny? Oh, lovely. Mr. Kenny, come on down. Tell us who you met. Heidi? Lovely. The beautiful Miss Heidi. Miss Heidi, who did you meet?
I met a young man named Mr. Anderson.
Anderson. Is there an Anderson in here?
He was right on the back.
Mr. Anderson. I can't believe these young people of this generation running away. Alright, so we'll see Mr. Anderson later in the program and specifically call on him. Have your seat, Miss Heidi. Let's give yourselves a round of applause. And so, without further ado, I would like to reintroduce myself for persons sitting here. Allow me, even before the welcome remarks are done, to officially invite everyone seated amongst us here. Honorable Ron Redhead, let's give him a round of applause. Minister for Youth, Sports and Culture. I would also like to welcome distinguished persons amongst us. This is of course a youth forum, and I'd like to recognize Miss Heidi Charles, standing in us a wave. And she is the chair for the NBC Youth Arm. I would also like to recognize Miss Maria Pascal Roberts, who is the chair for the NBC St. David constituency. Let's give her a round of applause. So we have our elders with us as well. That's good. And even if I do not call you by name, just know that you're also a distinguished guest with us here tonight. So put your hands together for yourself. My name, as I stated before, is Abigail Ellis, and I will be your moderator for this evening. Without further ado, let us welcome Ms. Heidi Charles to the platform, who will give some opening remarks. Ms. Charles.
Thank you, Abigail. Good night to everyone. I am Heidi Charles, chair of the NBC St. David Youth Arm, and I have been tasked with the opportunity of doing the welcome remarks. Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell, Minister for Finance, Minister for National Security, Home Affairs, Public Administration, Information and Disaster Management. Honorable Ron Rehan, Minister of State with responsibility for youth, sports and culture. Honorable Andy Williams, Minister of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation. Honorable Telvin Williams, Minister for Carriacou and PT Martinic Affairs and Local Government. Distinguished guests, online viewers, both here and abroad, ladies and gentlemen, all good evening. I am delighted to welcome you to our very first Community Youth Forum. Many of you have traveled great distances to be with us today, and we are privileged to have you to join us. Globally, young people are a powerful force for change. The world is at a crucial point in history where social, political, economic, and environment issues have compelled youth to make a stand and do their parts in changing the world. The voice, influence, and contribution of youth are without question. This is particularly evident in Grenada, with our newest government being led by an extraordinary man, one who saw a need and arose to the challenge. Honorable Deacon Mitchell and team, we salute you. The Youth Forum aims to represent young people aged 18 to 35 within the parish of St. David and Extension, Grenada. The objectives are: 1. To create an exclusive environment for all young people to explore and develop their passions and interests while making a meaningful connection. 2. To provide the opportunity for young people to present their concerns and ideas to national and community leaders. 3. To promote partnership between statutory and voluntary organizations, school, youth groups, and communities. 4. To encourage youth-led action projects that channel the recommendations made during the forum. Ladies and gentlemen, during this forum, you will hear innovative examples of youth-driven solutions and best practices which we hope will encourage more young people to do the same in their own communities. Youths, I leave you with this wise saying from Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 30 to 43. One shall chase 1,000, and 2 puts then thousands to flight. I encourage all youth here to participate and encourage fully, make new connections, and lead from other participants while sharing your valuable ideas. Ensure that your voice is heard. Thank you.
Now, we can do much better than that. Let's put our hands together for Sister Harriet. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Thank you, Ms. Heidi, for opening us in the welcome remarks. Now, does anyone know why we're here tonight? Does anyone know the topic to be discussed tonight? I'm looking for the next person to call. So probably knows the best time to close a gadgets to look at the flyer that let you care. Go back on the flyer to see the theme. We've seen a pretty individual. She looks so lovely. And I so want to call her and ask her what's the theme for tonight. But before I put her on the spot, I love to give people opportunities. So do you know why you're here tonight, ladies and gentlemen? To talk about what? No, you're interacting with me. I love that. Huh? That's what I'm hearing. What are we here to talk about? Social issues affecting who? We, youth, young people. Yes, is we affecting? All right, I don't want to sound like something like that. Right, social issues affecting youth in our communities. And we live in a world today where there are many issues that affect young people. However, tonight we would like to touch on social issues affecting young people. Now, I want to give you 30 seconds to think. Do you know of any social issue affecting young people in your community? Plenty. Trust me, there's a lot. Are there any social issues affecting you as a young person? So those nodding and saying yes and giving me chorus, I expect you to speak tonight. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to speak. Not rumble. Yes, WWE fans, no, not at all. Let's get ready to speak. And so, we are about to invite the panelists who are currently on compound with us, and we will begin with them. The other panelists will join us shortly, as well as our guest for tonight. Promises, don't be fretting. All right. So I invite Honorable Minister Redhead to stand at this moment. Let's give Honorable Redhead a round of applause. And while he's standing, I would like to invite the young. We're going to do it like church style. Sit, stand, sit, stand. And so joining Honorable Mark Redhead on the panel tonight is none other than our minister from PT to Martinique and Caribou, Honorable Tevin and our 5 minutes or so, because we're young. Yeah?
So they want folks to sit down. I'm enjoying this sit down.
This not self-possession is saying one time. All right.
So, hey, I'm good.
So you know that's the part of the chit chat right now. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Honorable Ron Redhead, Honorable Tevin Andrews, let us all join our voices, put our hands together, whatever you have together, as we welcome none other than, drum roll, please give me a little drum roll. Little drum roll, give me a little drum roll. None other than Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell. That's the best we can do over here. Welcome, sir. Welcome, Mr. Honorable Deacon Mitchell. Ministers, Prime Minister, you may have your seat. All right. No, young people, no, we cannot sit before elders stand back up. Yes, yeah. You may now have your seats. Lovely. And so at this time, I will now turn the mic over to our panelists for the evening. I will allow them to Alright, I will allow them to introduce themselves and then we will start a discussion of social issues affecting young people in our communities.
Hi, good night everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I assume that the mic was meant for the audience to talk to us, rather than me talking to the audience. Oh, hi, I'm Deacon Mitchell. I'm a young man from St. David. Born and bred, spent some time in and out of St. David and St. George's and in and out of Korea. When I was, you know, hear me? Okay. Happy to see some young men in the audience in particular. We spent a lot of time talking about gender and young women in particular, but I think there's a lot of challenges that our young men face. And we collectively need to help them, and the young women need to help them as well, because at the end of the day, when we talk about husbands, boyfriends, fathers, grandfathers, companions, partners, and we need to make sure that we can work together in harmony. So I'm more interested in hearing from the audience tonight than I am in talking. I look forward to us having a lively and honest and frank discussion. And at the end of the day, I'm sure we will leave here with some possible solutions that we can implement to help make our communities and young people in particular more confident, more encouraged, and more inspired to be the next generation of leaders in the greater. So thank you.
Minister Andrew seems to be shy. Let me just first and foremost recognize Prime Minister, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell. Also my colleague, the Honorable Tevin Andrews, Minister for Caribou, and recognize myself. Minister Andy Williams is on his way, and therefore we look forward to a very robust discussion tonight. I am here to present to you, the young people of St. David, and by extension Grenada, somewhat as to the vision of your transformation government in terms of how we intend to develop the youth, whether it is around sports, culture, and nation building. I am borrowing the tagline of NLA. I am also the line himself, so that's okay. But tonight we expect to have a good discussion and to take questions from the young people so that it forms part in the final decisions that we will make. This is going to be a hallmark of government, which is to engage the people who are most affected by policies and decisions that government has to make so that we can have harmony in terms of the decision making and the implementation of those policies and how they affect the people. So we are prepared to have this dialogue and account to the nation on one hand, and also report to the nation in terms of where we see things going and how you can be a part of making the final decisions. So I'm looking forward tonight to engage you, young men and women of St. David. I see a number of young men that I went SU with, so I expect some very solid questions, and I must confess I hope I'm prepared to answer them because I know your intellect. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward, by and large, to this being a successful event here tonight. Thank you.
So, I'm Terry Andrews, and I express the same sentiments of the Prime Minister and, of course, Minister for Youth, Sports, Culture. It's a pleasure being in St. David's. St. David's is fast becoming one of the parishes that I love very, very, very much. I'm trying to say exactly why I'm saying that. But it's also good to be here to hear from you. It's a discussion that we're having, and it's not necessary for us to be doing the talking, but more for you to do talking so that we can hear from you and we can have a dialogue. So it's a pleasure being in St. David's tonight, this evening.
All right, thank you, ministers, and we're going to get right into it. Let me talk. Social issues affecting youth in the community. And as we would have already established, social issues, they're challenges that all communities face. And each community represented here tonight will have issues that are unique to them. And so at this time, we're going to open the floor for you, lovely young men and women, to dialogue with our well-educated, very excellent, we have a fantastic panel up here tonight. Ask them to have questions, because I know each of them can handle it. And so this is where we pause to hear from you. What are your concerns for your community? What are some of the questions you have for the ministers up here tonight? The floor is now open. You can indicate by standing or lifting your hands. Or I can simply come and have you the mic. We can get some started. All right? So the floor is now open. All right. Can I see my first person I come in? Wow. Yes. Staying on here with all this tonight. All right. So what are your questions? What are your concerns? Crystal, I know you realize I ain't looking at nobody, you're just calling name. Crystal, I know we have concerns. Javon, Micah. Yeah, I know we have concerns. Anthony, what are your concerns? What are your questions? I will start with my friend to my left. Micah. Everything good in Corinth, because I live in Corinth too. I don't find everything good in Corinth. Okay, we got it, we talked. All right, maybe we need a little icebreaker. Panelists, would you like to break the ice?
Yes.
Don't just think y'all here for me to present photos after. We're not here for photos tonight.
Yes, I was suggesting that perhaps the Minister of Youth and Sports can outline some of the plans that the ministry has for youth in particular, and then perhaps after that happens, we might feel a conversation. So, Minister.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for putting me on the spot. And I will begin by saying that as it relates specific to the major youth program that the government of Grenada currently runs under the Ministry of Youth, that is the MANI program, the National Democratic Congress government is interested to upgrade this program to a version that is not only providing training that is ongoing beyond the 18-month period, and there seems to be no end in sight. We have met young people, for example, who have been a part of the program since 2013. And therefore, that is a challenge. It means that this is not training, this is being masked as employment, which is providing a reduced wage and providing essentially free labor to our men and women in the private sector. And therefore, we have sat as a government and put thought to the concept of how we are going to transform this program. One possible option is to ensure that the National Training Agency plays a very critical role in outlining training for our young people. Separate and apart from creating training to provide employment, because training cannot be substituted for employment. And therefore, introducing the National Training Agency to run the MANI program, for example, is going to open up the discussion to have the National Training and Employment Agency in Grenada. This is going to help to combat the issue of youth unemployment in particular. So presently, what we have is only training. What we need is training and development and employment, job creation. Let me just pause for a minute to recognize Minister Andy Williams, Minister for right on time. So, the MANI program requires a serious deep dive. And the truth is, I do not want to come here as minister and to talk down to you to say, this is what we are going to do, this is what we are going to do. I am reporting to you what we have seen. And therefore, I would like to hear from the young people tonight. What is your view of the MANI program? And where do you believe we should take the MANI program? Because this government is going to listen to our people and is going to act in the interest of all of our people. So I would like to hear that question. But certainly, the MANI program is one aspect. Let me also recognize the Minister of Agriculture, Lance. And so, the program is one aspect. We also have the issue of how do we transform our society in terms of education for young people, the opportunities that exist, the question of cost. What government has done so far is to eliminate that barrier of school fees at the primary school, secondary school, and our community college, TAMCC. So we are embarking upon a strategy which is going to remove barriers for young people to get educated so that we can be better equipped to combat the issues of poverty, unemployment, that sort of thing. And so in a nutshell, young people, it is very important that as we formulate as policymakers, that we hear from you how we are going to do these things. Because partnering with you to get the job done is not just always easiest, but it's the best way to develop a society. And so tonight, I want to hear from you, after giving this opening salvo, what do you believe government of Grenada should do to to reimagine the Imani program. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ron Redhead. Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is now open. You've had enough time to gather, break your thoughts, you wish, Mr. Lambert, and get them in order. You can indicate by standing or lifting your hands. Or referring to one live stream. You take a selfie every day on Instagram Live every time. And referring live stream. Alright.
And Snapchat.
And Snapchat. You see, the minister is going to touch on me. I'm not even sure when last I take a Snapchat. And yeah? Alright. Anybody?
So good night to everyone. So for the question about the demand. As we know, there's a lot of young persons in society, young or old, who is currently unemployed, who is also not under the demand program. And you said that you will be doing a training process to create permanent jobs, correct? However, the reason why persons are unemployed is because there is not enough jobs in Grenada to facilitate the fluctuation in the amount of unemployed people. So my question to you is, after the training process and the whole process of the training, how as you as a government will create jobs for these young people, being that not enough jobs?
Thank you. Before I pass on to Prime Minister and Minister of Finance to give further details, let me just put it in this way, that presently we see a situation among young people in these three categories. There is the unemployed, the underemployed, and the unemployable. The strategy essentially is going to be that the unemployed will require interventions such as to direct some of the young people to form their own businesses. So in terms of job creation, government does not give jobs, but creates the enabling environment to create jobs. And so promoting the creation of new businesses is going to help to promote the creation of jobs. And that's the first thing. The second thing, as it relates to the underemployed, this is where the training is going to be critical. So the training should not be batch 7, batch this, batch that, and life skills. These elements are important, but it's not the most important. In the sense that where Grenada has to be in terms of future development, when we look at the aspects of coding, ensuring that as a nation, small island developing state in the Caribbean, we are well equipped with the capacity to take on some of the jobs in the ICT sector, ensuring that we advance as a society, just how we do things, going paperless. These things are going to automatically create jobs and new jobs. And that's where we are looking to be able to diversify Grenada's economy so that we are not too reliant only on construction and tourism. So that's one aspect. And then the unemployable is where we believe we must ensure that we invest heavily with skills training and development. So the education system, in our view, should incorporate in an official capacity or way the ideal element of skills training, so that the young people who are not too academically inclined will have a fighting chance. As Prime Minister put it best at one of the breakfast meetings with the OECS at Radisson a few days ago, weeks rather, certification is not education. So relying on just a degree or relying on a certificate to say, well, a pass and a bread, that's not always the best way. Ensuring that you have a skill, and in a modern society, you can be able to change and adapt when necessary is going to be critical, so that as a young person, if it is one idea or plan did not work out, you have something, a plan B, to work on. So we need to build and re-engineer how we see the question of job creation, how we see the question of business creation to be able to move the economy forward and not just say that government will create jobs. So I hope I answered part of your question, or at least the entire.
So for the unemployed, as a youth in society, I would look for a faster turnover. So I would say I would want to sell clothes. I would open, if I could do nails, I would start a quick business with hair. So in the training, would you be teaching the youths how to do a proper business plan, how to expand and use their resources to create something unusual? So not going into the nails and the clothing, but however, baking, biscuits, juices, and whatnot. So is that your aim?
That is government's aim. And let me tell you this, everybody cannot be a nail tech, everybody cannot be a barber, everybody cannot be all the other smaller businesses that require that skill. So what you need to be able to do, you need some agility in terms of how you go forward. As a young person, if you're creating a business, you need to do some market research. You need to ensure that that business you're going in is not heavily competitive and will not be in a way to put you out of business because the competition is just too great. Always try to be unique. And therefore, what we want to teach our young people in Grenada, Karakupi, Martinique, is to think outside the box. The old ways have not worked and did not help us. This is the reason why we are here in terms of the situation for youth unemployment. And so we need a new thinking, we need a new understanding of how we deploy our resources and how we build the capacity we have to be able to fight the problems of the future and to eradicate those of the past. So essentially, my view, my recommendation will be, as part of the government, that young people need to think outside the box for job creation and in particular business creations. We need to see new and exciting businesses that have never been done before. We need to reimagine how the private sector sees itself and the role it's playing in the country. So for example, just to bring in television or radio or whatever it is to buy and sell is not cutting it. We need something more than that. Grenada has to export. You have the Minister of Agriculture here. We need to see what equipment that local Grenadians can build. We need engineers who are not just focused on building walls and constructing things and so on that aspect of society, but who are willing to create stuff as well, so that they can patent it, copyright, what have you, and be able to earn significant resources externally. We need good thinkers in Grenada, Caribbean, market.
Alright, well, I guess I have to chat, so let me talk. So, the government itself could create some jobs, but if we are going to get to a place where there is little unemployment in Grenada, it's the private sector, and it's private young people who are going to create the jobs to help employ other young persons. That is the truth. So the first mindset is we have to not lie to young people, to make them believe that somehow the majority of you are going to come into school and get a government job. That's not going to happen. And there's a reason why that isn't going to happen, because Grenada's population is young. So even the people who are currently working with the government are young, which means they are going to be working for another 20, 25 years. So in order to address unemployment in Grenada, we have to get young people themselves to become employers and to create businesses that will employ other young persons. So the question is, how do we do that? We do that by addressing the education system, because the education system as is currently sends out thousands of young people, and the mindset for the most part is still, I'm looking for somebody to hire me rather than I'm looking for me to become an employer and for me to help hire other persons. So the education mindset has changed, and then the actual substantive education curriculum has to change. And I'll give an example. If you're 20 years old in Grenada, you don't know anything about the fact that once upon a time Grenada had a banana industry. Because it was extinguished. But we import bananas into Grenada. We used to export bananas. If you're 20 years old, you already don't know about the industry in Grenada, where we used to export companies. And if you just drive around St. David, you see all the buildings that used to be not being used. If you're 20 years old, you already don't know about cocoa production when we used to export cocoa production or cocoa stations all over Grenada. That's just one industry, that's agriculture, that's food. That's one industry that has literally disappeared in the last 20 years. In the case of banana, it started before the last 20 years, but definitely in the case of coconut, it started in 1939. So I'm saying, as a government and as a people, we chose not to replant for nutmegs. We chose not to replant the cocoa, and we chose, simply because we couldn't sell the bananas in London or in Europe, not to consume the bananas ourselves or not to try and export it elsewhere. And the end result is that we are not importing bananas. But I'm saying, what the government can help do is to help facilitate young people, for example, who want to go in banana production, who want to go in coconut production, by ensuring that if they don't have access to lands, that we help them find access to lands. That we come with a legal framework that says we can find, and the government is doing this. The Minister of Agriculture is here. There are estates that are being subdivided, persons are being trained, they're being given access to the land, they're being given the support, and they're being encouraged with the market research to plant the kind of crops that the market will bear. So we can just say agriculture alone, particularly for persons living in the rural communities, outside the state office, as one area where with government's help, we can encourage young people themselves to become self-employed and themselves to become employers of other young people. And we take this as a joke, but I keep giving this example. What you need in the market for whatever it is you want to sell, and there are ready-made markets that are sitting there that we don't exploit. Just the government school feeding program. Current, most of the couple 100 students perhaps. They are eating every day for 5 days a week. And I kept using the example of a simple banana. If each child in current school has 100 students here, I eat the right banana every day. That's 100 bananas you have to supply. That's 500 bananas a week. That's 2,000 bananas a month. Grenada used to export hundreds of tons of bananas. Last year was a banana plantation. Most of the land is still abandoned now. Right? And I'm saying this to say, we, the government, have to first of all educate our young people about the natural advantages of Grenada, give them the opportunity, but also ensure that the education system doesn't tell them that you need to dress up like how you dress to feel good about yourself to make money. Because the truth is, most times you're working for $800 or $900 or $1,200. Right? And if you work for that, as I said repeatedly, you ain't going nowhere. But I can tell you, you can sell bananas. Just giving the example I showed here. So if bananas were $1 banana, that's $2,000 in current school alone, selling bananas. And then you come to all the other schools in St. Louis, and immediately your revenue from selling ripe bananas alone to one child, and there's some children who eat more than one. It's easily $10,000, $12,000 saving alone. No, and this is not a fantasy. Because the reality is, when we had a banana industry, when we had a nutmeg industry, when we had a cocoa industry, when the farmers came along Christmas time, they weren't going to a bank to buy vehicles. They would come with money cash, and they were buying their pickups, and the land over, and they were going up to Bojo, they were going up to Beauregard, they were going back to them. So the reality is, we walked away from what is a natural advantage and bring it up. Food production. People must eat. They must eat. The same way they must die, it's the same way they must. So I'm saying there are opportunities in agriculture. And I'm just using bananas as an example. You can go to lettuce, to tomatoes, you can go to food production. So we have to also teach the skill sets that talks about things like how you dehydrate food, how you preserve food. Right? Knowledge is power. So our education system itself has to be imparting in young people that kind of knowledge. How do you preserve food? How do you dehydrate food to preserve it? Right? How do you build cold storages to extend the life of food? Our schools isn't teaching anybody how to play a butcher. You walk around today, you find 5 people know how to kill a cow or sheep or goat. They don't know. Because the school, the education system is not teaching you that. They ain't teaching you how to kill chickens. And everybody likes chicken. Everybody likes eggs. Everybody likes fish. Right? So I'm saying, when it comes to employment, when it comes to money, we can't take the mindset that we want to go together. I draw for $1,200, $200,000, $3,000, and things that will advance going forward. So the education system to ourselves that the government has, we also have to recognize as young people that there are in fact opportunities. There are a lot of jobs in Grenada. But there's the relative point about unemployability. How many young people here can drive? You see, it's a minority. Being able to drive increases your chance of being employable almost overnight. How many of you can swim? But I say this because these are the basic skills that is part of your life skill that allows you to do employment. You can't work on a function if you can't swim. Right? And there are endless jobs where if you can't drive, you can't get a job. So it's not just about the social or the leisure aspect of it. And that's what education, that's why I said education is not certification. Education is also about your life skill. I hope the audience see me shy tonight. Part of being engaged is being able to talk. Being able to take mic and speak. Being confident. When you go for a job, if you looking shy, you don't seem confident, people basically assume you don't want to work, they don't have you. Right? But our education system itself doesn't teach people to speak up. Amen. And our socialization of our children doesn't teach our children to speak up. Instead, we say to them, push them out, stay quiet. And we go on and on and on. Essentially, daunting the confidence of our own children. And we mistake a child speaking over you. Right? And that's the kind of mindset that we need to change, because if you don't speak up, and I should say this, there are marked differences sometimes between children who are socializing greater and children who are not socializing greater. I see all the time, 2 5-year-olds. Brothers and sisters, one child goes up in Greater, one child goes up in North America. And the 5-year-old from North America takes the mic and he asks questions, they don't know speak. The 5-year-old in Greater is looking down. They're not talking. So I'm saying all that is part of the education system that allows you to be more employable, allows you to think about how you find solutions. So I didn't get involved in politics to tell young people government will hire them. I got involved to say you can change your life. You can be creative. You can pursue knowledge. And with the internet, there's no limit to the kinds of things that you can learn about, the kinds of things that you can teach yourself, and ways that you can improve your own employment. But I would project our education system has to change. And for the younger young people, for the younger young people, those who are in graduate school in particular, we have to teach young people that coding and programming. Because if they don't know skill set, they don't need to leave Grenada to take them. They may not be selling their skills in Grenada, but with internet, you can sell it anywhere, at any time. And that's one area that if we really invest in things like digitalization, coding, and programming, the market is a world. And we can truly use that kind of thing to change the opportunities for young people. So that's part of the reason why I'm very keen. And this education I will not get up. We have to introduce not for 1 or 2 children, as part of the entire curriculum, especially for primary schools, programming and going to the next generation of Grenadians, they asking the government for work. Right? And they're looking forward to basically working for the world to get the opportunities. So I still find me talking too much up here and she don't know all talking.
If you notice, internationally, our athletes, we have one in the 400, one doing in the hexathlon, one, 2 athletes. What is the government's aim or strategy to build our network internationally? How are we going to, like how Jamaica is
Very, very good question. So currently, we are embarking on the journey to ensure that we implement the national sports policy. But just to be more specific, in Grenada, we are not organized sufficiently to be able to say or give good account of our athletes. I'll give you one example. In St. David here, can anyone stand and say to me how many athletes are currently, well, let's say registered, how many clubs are created, etc. You don't know how many coaches currently exist from the top of your head. So we need to organize the information around that. That's one. Two, when we talk about the development of sports, we cannot talk of it only on the national level. It has to start at the grassroots and the community level. So one of the things that we are keen on doing to be able to build that program, just like Jamaica has built, is going to be developing the community sporting structure that currently exists. We don't have a good one in place. There are a few clubs, but it's not sufficient. Just one example for, as it relates to playing fields, who has access to it? How do you get access? Organizing that aspect is going to be critical, so that on any given weekend, schools are going to be incorporated to consistent, long-term training opportunities. They have access to the schools, the clubs are there, high-level coaches, and getting international athletes to come back to Grenada to be able to give back by way of their experiences and in inspiring our younger generation of athletes. So, yes, on one end we need to mimic the Jamaica program for sports, but there is need also to build and develop a national sports program that is going to see grassroots and community development take center stage to be able to lift the quality of sporting talent that we have at the community level.
Also in sports again, as you notice there, we have netball, athletics, basketball, football. I noticed there is rugby?
Rugby, yeah.
Are we expanding in more?
Definitely. We're also incorporating chess as an official sport in Grenada, Caribou, Pidimani. And one of the reasons for doing that, for example, is going to these non-traditional sports that we are accustomed to. When we analyze the issue of mental health and the challenges that some of our young people face presently in society, chess offers a very cheap, inexpensive method to be able to cope with the situation. It is almost one of the main answers for rehabilitation for people who have went through mental challenges. It helps to expand the mind, it helps to calm the nerves, and this is something that we are going to be introducing shortly in our program at the prisons with our inmates, especially the younger ones, to be able to have them to play chess amongst themselves in a more active, organized way, so that we can reduce the issue of recidivism. That is the continuation of committing crimes repeatedly, over and over, same thing in some instances or even greater. So that seeing sports not just for the fun of it, but how it becomes a revenue earner for the individual and certainly clubs and societies, and how we develop sports on a professional level is something that government is keen and very interested to be able to roll out in short order. By way of repeating what I said earlier, the sports policy, the national sports policy, is going to be critical to be able to guide that. Presently, we do not have a policy that is guiding the development of sports, and there is need to incorporate that. And within the last 3 months, government has been steadfast in ensuring that this is implemented. This is from the responses of the stakeholders, this is the most progressive period that they have seen to implement a sports policy, national sports policy in Grenada, Caribou, Pidimani. And it has even gone to Caribou and Pidimani as well. Question? Sorry.
So many of them, y'all. See what happens. Thank you, panelists, for opening the floor. Hold on. Somebody was before you. Yes? You don't need mine?
It's not really a question, it's just something that based on sport. To me, sport is basically the parents, I would say, because mindset of kids and mindset of children, right? For example, I was a child, and I'm very comfortable in sports. I love sports. I used to wear football. The child from home, you say, I want him to go and play, to kind of get, then you want to put them in front of the TV, because you want to do something, you want to take your phone, you want to do the other club, the other, so it doesn't matter how many sports clubs you have. If you don't have the mindset to be in the sports club, trust me, they won't be there because they're on the phone. I will leave my little boyfriend to text and go in sports. So we have to bring up the children in a way that
The online viewers want to hear.
yeah, so we have to train our child in a way that, bring sports, like have like a day in the family, a day like for we go in the pasture together, play cricket, play football, play this, play that, and then them children will say, okay, well every day we have this, I'm good at it, so let me try. If you have a cricket club, I remember when I hit mom in a 6 and I could play, so one time the cricket club. It's basically like that, so we have to help our kids too, also, so that they can get involved in sports. It's not basically the school or the government, it's we as parents and also community. Yeah.
Good point, Donna. And I'm pretty sure lots of us can remember playing cricket in the road. How much of us playing cricket in the road now? Huh? Remember? And every time I go past, the other one is like, little buckets and a little wing. All right.
Good night, everyone. My name is Butcher Sylvester, right? But the PM know me, I could the PM Son grassroots program, right? Football, right? And a whole, yes, I do it voluntarily, right? No money. I do it in Nassages. When I do it in Nassages like a committee, few children come to the playing field, like 5, 2, 3, 4, right? I waste my whole entire time to give back without any cent. No government, right? Well, now, I'm in JW Fletcher doing the school program because of football, right? And just a little stipend, nothing more than $50, right? But I like it, so I give in my talent, right? And this is what I decide I want to do. But what I want to see the government do right now, and I'm putting the interest in the government, the young folks right now, and the panel, right? Primary school, we understand that same grassroots program from the primary school go right back up. So we talk to the teacher, get them an evening, 12 o'clock, you bring them out in the playing field, get more coaches. You have a lot of guys to do it outside here. But we just sit back and depend. If the government don't give me that work, I don't want to do that. But sometimes we have to think on we own. Just do it for the kids, not for the. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, essentially, just to respond, it means that we need to organize how we roll out our sports program at the community and school levels. And the issue of coaching, for example, is going to be critical. Presently, there is a situation where we have physical education teachers who are more interested in classroom, delivering the course for CXC. But coaching is way more than that. So we need coaches at the schools to be able to unlock the talents of our young men and women in the various sporting disciplines. So for example, swimming, as we mentioned, rugby, and to not just see it as the school tournaments, but to utilize sports, for example, and tune it with the aspect of tourism, right? There are tremendous opportunities out there that Grenada will benefit from in time to come through the question of sports tourism. So we need to see this beyond just the classroom and just taking a sweat and just going on the court and playing a game. So certainly the point is well noted and well taken. Thank you.
Alright, thank you.
That's all right.
Well, I want to say Mr. Hazard is in the audience. Some of you may know Mr. Hazard. But we had a town hall meeting in, I guess I'm calling town hall, in those days there was election in Current Junction. And he was talking about all the ideas that he brought to the former MP, particularly as it relates to sports and particularly as it relates to tennis. I was making the point that, and that's part of the challenge with sports in Grenada. There's some sports that only people in St. George's or people with access to a private vehicle get exposed to. Tennis is one of them. There's no tennis court in St. Davis. There are no tennis courts in St. Andrew, probably none in St. Patrick, none in St. Mark. So unless your child is going to school in St. George's and has access to canteen or maybe PBC or some private court, basically whether or not to be a superstar tennis player, you'll never know. You've just never been given the opportunity to be exposed to that. And the same goes for swimming and countless other sports. But in reality, sports is a profession, and we go back to the question of employment. Sports is not some gimmick on the side that you look for entertainment. Sports is a $1 trillion industry. So kids in South America, in Europe, go to school wanting to be a soccer player, a rugby player, a basketball player, a football player, just as how they go wanting to be a nurse, a doctor, a train driver, a policeman, because it's a career. Right? And that's the other change that has to happen. It isn't something you do as an aside. So part of the comment made about the fact that parents themselves need to understand the same way you sit down and go work with your child. It's the same way you have to encourage them to take part in sport, and then we can go on about all the health benefits that come with the parent exercising and the child exercising. So that is part of what, as a government, we appreciate and we recognize that we have to support all sports, not just the track and field, not just the football or the cricket which we are accustomed to, but all sports, because you never know when the next great start in any particular area. And so we have to prepare to think of things like doing a tennis academy. There are all these hotels being built. People come on vacation love tennis. Right? So even the hotels are not building the tennis courts, we can build the tennis courts. We can maintain them and keep them at the level that we can get the tourists to come. Then we can have tennis tournaments, we can have tennis academies. People travel all over the world and come to play tennis. My son was playing tennis, he went to St. Vincent, he met Russians, Ukrainians, people from all over. I'm just using that as an example, but it is not just sports, it is sports medicine, it is sports therapists, it's all of the support stuff that goes with sports. So when you see a professional football team, they've got 30, 40, 50, 60 people working with them, from doctors, massage therapists, physiotherapists, chefs, because you have to eat the right food, nutrition, etc. So I'm saying all this to say, when Grenadian athletes win gold medals at the Olympics or at the World Championships, they are doing this not having any of this support that I'm talking about. They are doing this against all the odds, because I can tell you the Americans, the Europeans, the Jamaicans, the Bahamians, they have the physiotherapists, they have the nutritionists, they have the doctors, right? They have all kind of high-tech stuff that they can go back to the next day and look at their performance and say, you didn't do this, you need to do this, you need to do that. All Grenadian athletes, for the most part, don't have that, and they still win. So that tells you the mental toughness they have, and also tells you the talent. So I'm saying, as a government, you recognize it. And so investing in sport is not because it's fun. We have to invest in sports in very much the same way we invest in education in the formal sense. And that is part of what has happened. So, like Minister for the National Lottery Authority, you know where the lottery money has to go.
Okay. Before, we're going to take my car, and we're going to take Anthony and Javon. We're going to keep it going.
All right, pleasant evening, everyone. Right, so, I dabbled in sports a bit. However, it didn't work out. So we'll leave it like that. However, I am honestly happy that chess is being added. I think that's a great thing as someone who thinks, well, I believe that, oh yeah, I love chess. I mean, y'all probably can't really see it. On me, it's probably not that evident, but yes. However, I just want to change the tangent a little bit and go back to one, like, it was a first or second question that Sister Heidi posed, right? So I'm basing it off that. And it looks, or focuses quite a bit on the ICT, sorry, the feedback, right, the ICT sector, right? And that's of, well, with young people here in Grenada. I know that, right, I know that it was stated earlier that, okay, the young people, they're expected to, well, I would say, make themselves marketable, and that's a third question I have later on. But to make themselves marketable and to look into different avenues as with regards to the ICT sector or computer and technology. However, what I know that also it was stated that we are looking for coders, programmers, etc. But I don't believe that we should just limit it to just these things. For instance, I am passionate about data science, actuarial science, and everything. And here in Grenada, there isn't as much support for people who, like me, who want to get into these avenues, right? So we're expected, or we would have to go off probably to further education outside of Grenada, and then we oftentimes realize that there is brain drain going on. So what are some of the ways to which the government can possibly, and I know that this is just a question straight on the spot, but possible ways to which the government can support an individual who is going against the normal, I want to be a software engineer, or I want to be a front-end developer, back-end developer, full stack. What are some of the ways to which the government can support this individual?
But support as in education-wise?
Well, I would say well, not really education, but
job opportunities?
Yes, so opportunities, and I know that, well, we can actually, well, get online jobs and remain here in Grenada, so therefore we basically, well, bring in greater revenue, but just, in general and everything.
Well, yes, you can remain and get online revenue, but I think the advantage of technology these days is that you don't actually have to have brain drain simply because somebody leaves Grenada. Because you can leave Grenada and still serve Grenada from outside of Grenada. Especially if your expertise is in ICT and any of the kind of skill set that you've talked about. Because the reality is once you have access to the internet, it matters not, you probably be in Mars and perform the services. So for more hands-on type services like nursing and so on, yes, if the nurse leaves, then in that sense the skill goes with the nurse. But even then, you have technology that allows you to do things remotely in terms of health and so on. So you have telemedicine. A nurse perhaps could help under the nursing journey by, if you took a photo and you sent a photo of the injury or you sent a photo of the x-ray, the senior nurse outside of Grenada could then provide guidance to the junior nurse in Grenada and say, based on my experience, this is what it looks like, etc. So for me, what technology allows is that it doesn't matter where you are. You can in fact help and provide the skill set and provide the expertise anywhere you are. But I think from a question of data, the government itself is in the, I have to call it embryonic stage of trying itself to get into the 21st century. So we've inherited a government where paper is still the norm, where handwriting everything is still the norm, where we are not using technology to be efficient, and in some cases it has had disastrous consequences. I'll give a good example, which is the topical. If we were using technology to deliver government services, the gentleman who was freed by the Court of Appeal would never have been freed. That's a simple example. And I'm telling you, I've been a lawyer for 20 years, and this situation has been existing for 20 years. Because we have simply chosen not to invest in technology that allows us to get the transcript from the court proceedings the same day. before the law closes this case, he should have had the transcript of everything that went on and he should have been able to close this case on that. Instead, the past administration did not put the resources in buying widely available technology to make the judicial system far more efficient and to reduce the risk of something like that which has happened. But I'll give you other examples, and I'll talk about those things. If you pay for your driver's license online, no, thankfully, why you have to go through all this other back-end people stuff? Why you have to go down and have your thing physically thing and somebody give you a piece of paper and then you go here and you go there, etc. So there is serious room for improvement and for us to be able to use technology and to use data. So let's talk about data. It's the same thing. If the government has to make decisions, it has to have data to know what is the best decision to make. And I'll give a good example. The government has this bathroom and toilet program. Let's take St. Louis. Do we know how many people still use pit latrines? Yeah, a lot is not data. You need to know if it is 1,000 people, 500 people, or 750 people. You need to know. Because if it's 1,000 people and you want to eliminate it, it means first you need to be able to buy 1,000 toilets. And then you have to ask yourself, how long will it take to eliminate that? How many workers do we need? Where are they most concentrated? Which village has the most? So that we know village X has 100 and we are trying to eliminate it, then we need to know that we need to get 100 toilets for village X. Then we need to know if it's all wooden houses so that we then have to do concrete to join it together, or whether it's just concrete houses without it. But that is how we have to have the data. So when we're doing budgeting, for example, I'm the MP for St. David's. So if I wanted to eliminate pit latrines in St. David's, and I don't know how many people have pit latrines, I'm the Minister of Finance. When I'm speaking with the PS, and he says, well, a toilet is $10, and I don't know how many toilets I need to buy in St. David's, what am I telling you? You don't know? And that is what has happened in Grenada over the last 20 years. So we can use simple things like the bathroom and toilet program. So there are about 500 people who have applied thus far and counting for housing assistance. How did we come up with that name? Because somebody comes, they just fill up a paper and they drop a bill. How do we know for a fact that this person really needs the assistance? Where's the photograph? Where's the house number? I'll give you a good example. We don't have house numbers. Most countries you have a house number. In the early, that's since pre. The 70s, the 80s. Right. Good point. So I'm using this to say, if we have house numbers, yeah, these are house numbers. But if we have house numbers, then you would know. Because you have the number of houses, the numbers will go, and then you'll be able to. And that's some of the basic reasons why the government fails. Because we actually don't know what we have. We can't budget for it, we can't allocate, and we frustrate people. Because if 500 people have applied, and your budget, and I'm giving this because this is the reality of what we're facing today. Over 500 people have applied for housing assistance. The total budget for the rest of the year for the entire country that we have is $4 million. But assuming I wanted to help everybody in St. David's, divide 4 million, this is ignoring the rest of the country, divide 4 million by 500 people. And you see how much it will take, how much will end up for each person. And then you have to ask yourself, is that money enough to help you fix your house? So, each parish, each constituency needs to get somewhat of that $4 million. So in the case of St. David's, we probably will get more than $500,000. The maximum amount you could get is about $17,000 per person to help you fix the house. So let's even round that down to say 10,000. But we only have $500,000. That means we're not helping more than. That means you cannot have more than 25 out of the 500. Right. But if you could only have 25 out of the 500, That means 475 people will not be helped. But what we then do is, why did this person get help and I didn't get help? And then why does say, well, because this person is an MP and the other is an MP or an NBC and whatever the case is. Right. But the reality is, when you don't have data, when you're not explaining to people what's going on, that is why people start thinking it's all political. So I'm saying this to say, part of the Central Statistical Office has to be completely upgraded. We have to put investment in. So when you see people going around doing the census, you have to give them the information. You have to give them the data. I'll give another example. St. Nicholas only has 2 secondary schools, one of which physically is not fit for students to be there. There is in excess of 10,000 people living in St. Nicholas. How many of them are of secondary school age? How do we know whether we need another secondary school in St. Nicholas? Because we need the data. If the population of St. Nicholas is growing and it is going to grow, this parish will grow the fastest because we have hotels, we have all kinds of things taking place. More people come and live here. At what point in time does the government say, okay, based on the growth in the population and the amount of young people, we need a 3rd secondary school, or we need another primary school? That is what data is about, and that is what technology and so on is about. And that is the kind of thing we need to make decisions, so I don't just pull something from my head and say, right, well, we're going to build a school there, or we think another school. That's what data is about, and that is the problem we've had over the last 20 years, because decisions are not being made on actual data. Let's take another example, the roads. How many vehicles come into Grenada every year? How much more vehicles do we expect over the next 5 to 10 to 15 years? And can the road sustain it? So how are we planning for that? Right. So I'm just saying this to say, when you ask about if there's room for you, the more people we can get who can do this kind of work, and who can help the government, the better we'll be able to make decisions about where we need to spend money, how we plan, and how we move forward. And I can go on and on. The schools, if you don't repair a school over 20 years, none of them, then all of them will need repairs at the same time. And when all of them need repairs at the same time, it means all of the children have to get temporary stuff at the same time. And that is what's happening. Right? When you repair the air conditioning system in the Ministry of Finance for 20 years, then all of a sudden the workers can't take it anymore. They leave. They want to go. But there's no place for them to go. So I'm saying that is what things like the data, that's why we need people who are interested in those kinds of things. Data science, people prepared to read the numbers, understand what's happening, and be able to deal with it. And this is not a joke. This is affecting all kinds of areas of the region's life. I'll give you another example, the national insurance scheme. We need to be honest with people. If your salary is $10, and you're paying in contributions between you and the government $1 each year, how when you retire you expect them to get $8? You're not going to get $8. You're more likely to get $1 or something less than $1. If NIS is spending more, and it is spending more than it is collecting, it's just a matter of time before it busts. So the question then, you have to look at the data and you have to fix it. If people are not working, then they're not contributing to NIS. It's as simple as that. If you pay them lower wages, then they're contributing less to NIS. And I'll give you an example. The Imani program. If the program was truly training people in the jobs we need in Grenada and then putting them out and giving them the opportunity to work in areas where we definitely need employment and paying them better wages, NIS wouldn't be in the position it's in. If your own government isn't telling you, I'm paying you, and you have to pay your NIS, I not pay. I'm putting you on contract and you pay NIS. I ain't contributing 5% and you ain't contributing 2%, you're on your own. You ain't paying NIS, they ain't paying NIS. Less money. So when you get sick, where are you getting the 60-40 matching from? You know? And I'm saying this is the kind of stuff that is happening in front of all of our eyes. And we've stood by and allowed it to happen. So I'm just saying that's why data is important. So if you are interested in data, and the government is interested in it, because there's a lot of work for us to address some of those things. And we can go on and on, just the bridges. How many people know how many bridges we have in Grenada? How many people know how many of them is one lane? Which means you have to stop and allow one to pass and leave. You can just drive, you can start at Paradise, we don't go far. Let's start at Paradise and come. Paradise Falls, etc. And this has gone on for 50 something, well, all my life. And we have one more vehicles on the road. And nobody has said, okay, we need to widen the bridges to accommodate two-lane traffic. So, I've gone on, but I'm just saying to say, people who are interested in data, whether it's collecting it manually or collecting it digitally, we need the data. We need help, and the government is happy to hire and recruit people who have that skill set. So you don't need to leave Grenada. I am sure the Ministry of ICT, which is being built now, will be happy to welcome your skill set. And if you know, if there are others like you, call Mr. Orlando Romain, call Mr. Lennox Andrews, who are in the ICT department, and I'm sure we will find work to help us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, so in the interest of time, I'll just ask the final question, so I'll skip the second one that I have, and just jump to the last one. So what are some soft skills that you probably recommend for probably a young person to develop as a whole, so that they can be more marketable, etc. in the world of work, the field of work, etc.?
I'll give a couple, and I'm sure my colleagues will give a couple. So, what do you call it? Soft skills, but you need to be confident without being rude. And you need to be polite. And I'm being honest, I actually don't find us as managers to be polite.
Amen. Amen.
And I'm saying this, I mean, sometimes we talk about people in North America and whatever. Here, people see you coming, they don't hold it up, they see you coming, they just close the hands. We don't step aside. You see senior citizens walk in a line and say, Mommy, Daddy, go ahead. We don't get up on the bus and say, senior citizen, take the seat. But not the majority. So I'm saying, being polite and being courteous, and sometimes just smiling. Just smiling. People underestimate that, especially you deal with others, because you don't know what monkey you have on the back. But just by smiling and being pleasant is something that truly, in my experience, goes along. Even when you meet people who are being unpleasant. So I would say that to give advice to young people in terms of soft skills. Be polite, smile, and those two things will get you along. But the one other thing I would probably add is this. Life isn't easy, that's the truth. It's not you get up every day and it's a party. There are days when there are sometimes years when you have bad years, bad days, etc. But a lot of what you go through is in your mind. A lot of what you go through in your life is in your mind. You are what you think.
Amen.
And you literally have to sometimes learn the skill of getting up in the morning and saying, I will force myself that way. And you quickly find that a lot of the things where you think people didn't like you, or this person's attitude, or whatever it is, you quickly realize that a lot of it actually is in your mind. So it's important to, boxers and things, everybody go to the gym. Everybody wants to be fit, everybody wants to look good. But we don't work on our mind. Amen. We don't work on calming ourselves. We don't work on saying, let me take a deep breath, come to 10 before I say whatever I want to say. And I'm saying this to say, people ask me why I'm calm. I'm calm externally, doesn't mean I'm calm internally. But what you find is, the more you work on your mind, is the happier you are. Because you realize to a large extent your happiness is largely determined by you. So you may chase material things, as soon as you accomplish it, you realize you want something else. You may want the latest phone, as soon as that comes, you want the next phone. You want the next bag, the next shoes, the next car. You wanted this dream house, you get a dream house, and you're looking for another dream house. And all that is good. But the gratification has to come from yourself. And from being at peace with yourself, from learning about yourself. So read books that teaches you about strengthening your mind. And you quickly realize that all the noise and the storm, it just rages and goes away. And then the final piece of advice is you have to be careful with social media. For the whole mental. So every now and then, it is good to just leave the phone alone. Take a break, read a book, play some sports, do normal things we used to do. Play domino, play cards, talk without actually constantly calling what's going on. Because this is a world, this is like being in Mars, or Jupiter. Oftentimes it completely divorces from the reality. From whether you have food to eat, whether you have water in your house, whether you have electricity, whether you can send your child to school. Remember, people go online, they see all kinds of things. And then you have food to eat. They stay up late, 2, 3 in the morning, which is probably the worst kind of time, reading all kind of nonsense, and they get up the next day tired, blurry, jumpy, irritated, etc. So I'm saying as a young person, I mean, we spend a lot of time on that. But we have to realize that you can't take yourself physically and go into the phone or go into the computer. I know technology might get that. But sometimes you have to give it a break. Normal, regular things that people do to make sure you don't get into this state of mind where you have anxiety and you're always grumpy and that kind of thing. You know what I think? In terms of helping you as a young person, those are some of the things that you have to be mindful of. And remember, from an employment point of view, SUP and all the acronyms that you use on the phone, you sometimes have to leave it when you get to the job. Right? People still expect you to write and read it and speak normally.
Good night, everyone. Let me just ask a question on this topic right now. If I call you today and tell you I have a job for you, what do you think is the first question you will ask? Understand? No. Right. So, and let me just say this. As young people coming up, your focus should not be on just money. When I remember working in Rex, I was 17 years old. I had to save up till about 10 in the night, no overtime. And making me duty to learn all of this, accounts payable, receivables, everything. In 2004, you had a hurricane on Ivan. Rex had 220 staff. They kept only 20 staff. They kept 2 staff in accounts. The accountant, I know. Exactly, why? Exactly. Now the point is that if I was checking on money, then I would not have made it my duty to learn the different desks and so on. And then I would have been without a job. Right? But it's good to increase your knowledge as young people, increase your skills. Because as I always say, as someone could take anything away from you, one thing they cannot take away from you is what is in your head. So that's just my piece of advice on that.
Well, excellent advice so far. My advice to you is find your passion. What do you love doing? And go after it with all your energy. I mean, I fell in love with politics after some seed was planted in my heart. And if you know the story, I mean, some of you will cry, and the night is, time is running out, so I can't give the full story. But the reality is, I started this political journey almost 9 years ago. I'm telling you about my passion. Started 9 years ago. And I started at the lowest level. And I worked my way up within the party. And of course, becoming a candidate. Contested in an election, lost. Not just lost the constituency that was running it, but the entire party lost within one seat. But even before that, I recall getting involved with the party. We lost the election, all seats. And of course, when I ran, all seats. Now, some people would have left because they can't take that. But in spite of that, I remained on the ground, remained focused. Right bullet was determined, he pressed on. And of course, fast forward 4 years after, 4.5 years after 9 years of hard work, here we are as members of parliament. So the point I'm making, whatever your passion is, might be in the technological field, it might be in medicine, it might be agriculture, whatever you know, surround yourself with people with similar passion. I surrounded myself with former Prime Minister Sonika's Prophet, may God rest his soul, and of course former Member of Parliament for Caribbean P. Martin Purser, and they guide and mentored me as well. So if you want to be a nurse, Maria Pastor is sitting there, she has a wealth of knowledge. If you want to be a lawyer and politician in St. David, you surround yourself with the best, the brightest you can take it and whatever field, you just, go after it and don't give up. That's my 2 cents.
That will be long. I will be as short as I am. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But my advice honestly would be to be creative. Think outside the box. And I'll give you just a snippet of my own story. When I was pursuing my degree, and as Mr. Andrews spoke of the struggles that we went through over the last 9 years, being in the political wilderness and being suppressed, essentially, economically, otherwise, you had to be creative and think outside the box. And so survival was critical. I never attended a university to learn graphic designs, but graphic designs helped to pay for my studies at St. George's University. I taught myself graphic designs, and I worked my way up, got a contract with one of the most successful regional financial institutions in Grenada. And that contract in particular, was able to pay for a great portion of my studies. The moral of the story is that you yourself, in terms of finding your passion, in terms of building your soft skills, in terms of having the drive, as Minister Andy Williams mentioned, you need to ensure that you go for it, but most importantly, that you succeed at the end of the day. You think it was easy to sit 9 years ago and say, boy, I wonder if I should give up this thing. Will we achieve it? No, it was not. But sometimes, as young people, you have to see beyond what is presently facing you right now. So being creative, understanding that no matter the struggle that you face, poverty, unemployment, single parents, etc., that you can overcome all of that and still be a successful and productive citizen. So that's my message tonight. Be creative and think outside the box, go for it and accomplish.
Good night, everybody. Good night, panel. I would just like to go back to sports, just a little bit, right? I believe that we all know how important sports can be, right? And the opportunities that we can get from sports, right? But like the Honorable Prime Minister said, we are a developing country, and we are developing in a lot of ways, right? In the sporting arena as well. Right? And I believe that this is one of the reasons why a lot of the person's mindset is the way it is, right? A lot of the persons don't see sport here in Grenada being a viable option or an opportunity for making a livelihood here in Grenada, because I guess as much we are still developing that, right? A lot of persons want to turn pro in a lot of the sports that they like. But do we have areas of opportunity for that here in Grenada? No, not necessarily, right? I believe one of the only sports, or I'm subjected to correction, is football, where we have the Pure Cup and the persons who play get a stipend for it, and that's probably as far as we go. But there are a lot of persons who want to turn pro, and we don't have that here in Grenada, but they may still want the opportunity, right? What kind of avenues do we have here to allow persons to achieve those dreams that they have, or to access those opportunities? Now, a lot of the things, one of the ways that we can get opportunities as a young person is scholarships, right? And that has to be done by having linkages or partnerships with whether it be schools, colleges, and so forth abroad, right? Are we working on making that field a bit bigger in terms of the amount of persons that can access and benefit from those opportunities? Because there are a lot of persons here who would love to benefit, and for whatever reason they can't, right? So two questions: what are some of the opportunities, some of the ways that persons can benefit from that, and are we going to work on partnerships and linkages abroad so that persons can benefit from those?
Right. Just to answer very quickly, yes, so government is interested in expanding scholarship opportunities. That is a given. However, in expanding those scholarship opportunities, what we need to factor in is the question of specialization, to the extent that we are not just announcing scholarships for the sake of it, but it's actually in line with what our people are requiring and what the country needs in order to move us forward. So I'll give you a simple example. As Minister of Culture, I have seen a number of visual artists who can portray a lot of things, landscaping, different visual arts, etc. Presently in Grenada, there is no opportunities for a visual artist to go beyond just drawing something on the side of the road or taking their creativity on Facebook or social media. And so the need to expand scholarship, let's say for Cuba's visual arts school, the need to get scholarships and bring them here is critical, but this is not rocket science. It means that what government has to do, and is doing in this instance, is to explore some of the non-traditional ways, is to expand some of the scholarships presently available, and is to say as well that those scholarships that we need to actively seek out has to be in line with moving Grenada forward. So the young athletes who would like to get to the pro level need to know what are the opportunities available. I'll give you another example. Presently, there is a sixth form program at the secondary schools that can get you to a college in Jamaica, where you will train for at least a period up to 2 years and be able to come back here and all of the knowledge you acquire, be able to apply it and work your way up on a national level. Does any of our young people inside here know about that program presently? Okay, so let's take us out 2-3 hands. And that's not enough. And that's why we are not seeing an overflow of athletes. When we compare Jamaica to Grenada, for example, in terms of their performances on a world stage, small island just like Grenada is a bit larger. However, the performances of the athletes, you see a vast difference. So it means therefore that government has to drive the policy direction and should drive it. So yes, we are interested in this, and it's the voices of young people as yourself who will continue to highlight these issues is going to help to result in action from government of Grenada. Thank you.
Not that question, just something that I'd like to say, right? And it relates to job, basically getting a job, and that's not necessarily for myself, but I'm just being a voice for a lot of persons who would have spoken, right? Being in that dialogue with persons who are young, youthful, they want to get a job and so forth, right? Some of the things that are required of young persons to gain a job, it's sometimes a bit daunting, right? Sometimes when we look at requirements, although they're necessary, but sometimes when we look at them and when we hear them, it's a bit daunting and kind of push us back mentally in terms of wanting to go for that job. We start thinking whether we can get that job because of those particular requirements, right? As I said, requirements are definitely important, right? But sometimes you may have somebody who probably doesn't have the requirements, but they are more than capable, probably even more than someone who has the requirements to get that particular job. But because of the requirements that they don't have, then they're overlooked and overshadowed, right? One of the simple things, it may not seem as much, but it's very daunting for a young person to hear something like that, is that you need to have a certain amount of experience, years of experience as a young person. Where do I, as a young person, right, just coming out of school, I'm just trying to get into the workforce, where do I get that experience from, right? It is you, the employer, who has to bank on me, give me a chance, right, so that I can gain that experience, right? And that in itself is one of the things that is very daunting as young persons when we hear that getting into the workforce, right? So not a question, but just a point.
Thank you. And Darren, now it's 4 minutes to 9.
Let me just give a joke here. So, the first one I got was the Vex, right? And they asked, on the interview, they asked me if I could have used computer and so, you know. I was like, yeah, man. It's okay, you know. So when I got to the job, they're like, you know, they gave me something to do, you know. I was like, well, you know. And the guy that will help me, you know, like, you know, I'm looking at it like if I know the whole world about computer and I knew nothing, right? But I'm saying not to do, right, is this to be honest, right? But as the Prime Minister was saying that, you know, listen, we were given a job as young people with no foreign experience in this game, right? But I mean, we take our cue from our Prime Minister, and I'm very sincere, and I think that for us, you know, we pride ourselves on being honest and being very genuine with the people. And I think the fact that most of us said, and why I'm proud to be there, is because I know we have a good heart, and Grenada will certainly benefit from us being in charge.
Another thing that will certainly help is through one of the new initiative that we'll be launching through the Ministry of Youth Empowerment. Because the MANI program should really be a training program, an apprenticeship program. And with that apprenticeship program, you will gain the necessary experience for the jobs and so on. So hopefully that will assist. But the point that you made, excellent point.
Good evening. Pleasant evening to our Prime Minister, Honorable Ethan Mitchell, Honorable Edwin Andrew, Williams, Ron. My question is based on education, specific to scholarships. So I really would have hoped the Minister of Education was here tonight, but hopefully our Prime Minister can answer. So quickly, I would have applied for a scholarship to SGU on 3 occasions. First 2 times that I did not get a scholarship. And upon inquiry, I was told that my grades from TAMCC wasn't good enough, and despite me doing well at SGU, I still was not able to get the scholarship. The 3rd time, I actually got the scholarship, and it was literally the last year of my whole degree. So my question to you, and I know some, step back. One, two. Right. And I know some of my colleagues actually go through this as well. After 3 and 4 attempts, they lose passion, and they just don't want to go through it again, and they fall by the wayside and just settle for the minimum, bare minimum. So what are some of the changes that were made to this scholarship program so that it can be a fair, it can be free from political affiliation, because I feel like sometimes that would have been the reason why some of us won't get it, and so that people who genuinely need the scholarship is awarded those scholarships.
All right, thank you for the questions. I will do my best on behalf of the Minister of Education. So, first of all, I want to start with what I found. And perhaps we have to ask you some clarity. You say you applied for a scholarship. Are you applying to SGU for the SGU scholarship, or are you applying to the government of Greenland?
Government of Greenland.
Okay. So, as I understand, SGU makes available to the government of Greenland a certain number of scholarships. And the government of Greenland then has its selection criteria. Now, I'm saying traditionally, and that means a long time ago, the scholarship desk was essentially based at the Ministry of Education. And they would have had, either from a policy point of view, criteria for determining how you qualify for a scholarship. In more recent times, prior to us forming the government, there seems to have been a lot of changes. Some of these things seem to have been moved over to the Prime Minister's office, and I don't know why, and might have created a lot of the challenges that perhaps persons like you might have experienced. But the challenge is there's always more demand than supply. That's the truth. And therefore, if you have 200 scholarships and you have 1,000 people applying, it's only 200 scholarships you have, so the other 800 will be disappointed. The question is, you have to be, the criteria has to be made known, and then has to be consistent application of the criteria. So in other words, if the criteria is on merit, and I'm saying I don't know that it is, if the criteria is we taking the first 200 students with the best grades, then that should be the criteria, everybody knows it. If 1,000 people apply, then you inform that 1,000 people apply, you're taking the first 200 with the best grades in the story. Then it's transparent, everybody knows. If you know well, have not, you fell at 201, you fight, and you try and get a loan, or you try and pay for it. Right? So I'm saying that's the kind of system we wish to institute. I know, for example, there were criteria that said your grade point average had to be 3.2, etc., etc. And it's always tough, because I'm saying obviously there's more demand than there is supply. And in circumstances where someone doesn't get you, I'm happy to be persistent. But that also is part of the lesson we have to learn. My philosophy is that if, as a developing country, government should take a policy that it should support education and educating its people as much as it can. But we also have to be realistic. We're not a very wealthy nation. And there's all kinds of things competing for government resources: police, roads, infrastructure, port, health systems, etc. So we are not yet at a place where we can say for sure we can pay for everybody to get education. Which means those who can pay for education, those who have the means to do so, should pay. Right? And therefore, we should not necessarily get to a point where we say, for instance, if you don't get a government scholarship, you quit on your education. I never got a government scholarship. I never asked for a government scholarship. It never occurred to me it was a thing. I finished MCC. I said I'm going to UE. There was a challenge program. I joined the challenge program, and it was a challenge. You had 2 years in Greda, the equivalent of 1 year in UE. And from then I went to look for a loan. I never asked the government for anything, other than to do what the government was supposed to do, which is to pay the economic costs. Because we part of the university of West Indies. They refused to pay. I hung with the former people all over the place to say, well, I mean, Grenada is part of you, it's part of Grenada's obligation to pay this. Why? They don't need, they said there's too many lawyers they're not paying. But I got a loan. I went my entire university through a loan, came back and paid the loan for 10 years. So I'm saying, one of the things we have to be careful about in Grenada is the notion, because we have limited resources, that simply because you don't get a scholarship, that you shouldn't pursue educating yourself. Let me make it clear. The people who are going to SGU, the medical students, are not on scholarship. The thousands of them are on student loans. And they are educating themselves because they believe that education is their main ticket out. So I don't want us to leave the room thinking because the government doesn't give you some tuition assistance or because the government doesn't give you a scholarship, particularly for university type education, that you should quit or not to get that loan. Certainly up to TAMCC, our government's position is to eliminate what I call petty barriers to education, registration fees, all kind of fees. We are even considering looking at whether we can pay for the CSC exams going forward. So again, students want to say, I'm not sitting the exam because my parents can't pay for the registration and so on. But parents and students also need to understand that as much as the government has a right to try and educate in their population, you also have a right to educate yourself. Right? And remember, up until recently, they only have one scholarship, whoever is the island scholar, in the days when you're at A-level, the island scholar gets a scholarship, the rest of you get it where you go. That was just the other day. In my time, it was one scholarship. The island scholar, you get 2 levels, you get island scholarship, you get to uni or whatever you want, the rest of you have 3.5, crap was smoking back. Go and get your loan and educate yourself. And hundreds of Grenadians did it. So I'm just saying, I don't want you to think that education is expensive everywhere. I think you heard Joe Biden forgiving millions and millions of student debt in North America because people borrow to educate themselves. So our policy is certainly up to TAMCC. We are endeavoring to eliminate the fees so that there isn't an excuse that you can't afford to go to school. But certainly at the university level, it's more difficult, it's more challenging because the price gets a lot more expensive. And we will try and encourage as much scholarships as we can, get as much grants as we can, but people also need to take the opportunity to invest in themselves. And taking a loan and getting an education is the best investment you can make in yourself, especially if you have nothing else to do. If your parents have a business, if you have nobody to go to, educate yourself.
What is the criteria for someone to be permanent, especially who's attached in the court system and filling in for someone who has retired?
Good question. As short as possible as what we are trying to do. So we met persons who are called manis who've been working for a long time with the government in particular. And we try to understand what's the arrangement for what we're doing. And it seems as if you're on a contract and at any moment you could be, for one thing, to pull back to the money program. So that is what we for all the ministries we understand. We are trying to understand it ministry by ministry, department by department. We are engaged in a comprehensive review of the government and government institutions. So there are regular public servants, there are persons who the government hire on contract, there are persons who are called manis who the government hires on contract, and there's another group of workers, they call them unestablished workers. But effectively they are working with the government on a very loose arrangement. They don't have any benefits of the public servants and so on. What we are trying to do is, department by department, look at the actual positions that exist in public service, find whether the position is vacant or not. So let me try and explain that, because it appears in public service you may have a post that appears vacant but is not vacant because someone has the post, but you're not working in the post. So it gets a little confusing. So you may have someone who's called, maybe I can use the best example. Someone might be a permanent secretary, because that's the top job. So the permanent secretary of X, but they've been transferred to do something else. But they still have this title of permanent secretary of X. So if you are acting in that post, until that person no longer has the post, you cannot be confirmed with the post. So that's part of our service also. So what we are trying to do is first find out how many of these posts are actually vacant, meaning nobody's holding them. Find out whether you're a manual or contract worker, whether you're actually working in that post, and then get to the point where we can unlock or unfreeze the post so that you get the job. So that's one way. Another way is there are entire departments almost. I'll talk about something like government printers, where almost all of the staff who are there came in as man workers and have kind of remained as man workers for 6, 7, 8 years. But within this department, there are actually government posts that are vacant. Our goal would be to try and make sure that these persons can actually be, for want of a better word, transferred and confirmed in getting those posts, whether they properly are government workers and are called or treated managers. So, for example, perhaps in the Supreme Court, there's a lot of that. When people go, they came in as managers and they remained there for a long time. If the position itself is vacant, it becomes easy or easier to then actually make you get the job. But there's one challenge we face, and that's why we have to be honest. It is the issue of pensions. If you become what I would call a normal public servant, no, you are entitled to pension when you retire, based on a law that was passed in 1958, as in before Green and London Bills. And that law requires, whether it's prison officers, police officers, regular public servants, teachers, the government alone to fund and pay your pension when you retire. And I can tell you right now, the government cannot do that, cannot sustain that. It simply cannot pay pension alone. So we need a pension system that allows both government and the employee to be contributing. There are about, how many men? 5,000? Right, but you know, 1,800. So on any given time, you're looking at 4,000 people perhaps. That doesn't include the regular public servants. So at the end of the month, the government, one way or the other, between the C programs, the public service, and the money, pays about 15,000 people. If all of these people, even if 10,000 of them had to go on pension, they're going to be bankrupt overnight. So the challenge we face is we have to get to a point where we can reform the pension system and where we can begin to move people properly to fill the vacant positions that are filled. And there are a lot of vacant positions that are filled. So that is what we're trying to work through. And we're going to have to do it department by department, ministry by ministry. Because there's some people working with the government, yes, and every 15 years for the same salary. They can't even get a letter to say they work with the government. They call them unestablished workers. So that is the situation we've met, and we are trying to take it, as I said, department by department, with the hope that we can regularize as much as we can. But we also have to be able to do pension reform, because there's no point in fooling people. Maybe they'll come on and then they stay, they work for the government, and every time they retire, the government is bankrupt, but they can't give them the pension, and then they still back into poverty. So I hope I brought a little clarity. It's a complicated situation, but at least I hope I could clarify some. So I'm saying for Imanis, assuming we can resolve and get the pension reform going, the aim is to try and fill the vacant positions that actually exist, especially if the person is actually acting or performing the job in the legal position.
Thank you. Can I see the hands of persons? We will. Okay. It's.
Let them line for that.
Yes. So let's make a line. Right at the back here. So after that, that's it. We'll cut off that. We'll cut off that. You know, we just take a while to warm up and then the questions just come. So forgive us. Alright. So she's shy. I'll start with her.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
My question is, what programs or training opportunities that are in place for persons over 40 who want to upgrade themselves academically to be eligible for the job market but are unemployed?
She asking that for mom. You heard the question?
Well, not the question. The question is there any adult continuing education programs currently in place? The basic answer is no, and that's part of what we have to change in the country, because education is a lifelong process, and it's not just for people who are 18 or 21 and on. So I'm happy you asked the question. It's one of the things that the Ministry of Education, the National Skills Training Agency, and so on is going to have to work on, because effectively there isn't much of that existing right now.
Thank you.
Well, basically I don't have a question. Well, I have a question, but I also have a suggestion. Because I heard Mr. Redhead said that the teachers don't want to be outside. So my suggestion is, when employing a teacher for sports or any other stuff, we need to have not only sitting down inside, but have a practical, because there are some people that could speak about sports but don't know how to do sports. And if I could speak about sports and I could teach a class, then I would go and sit down in the class and look outside. I don't want to go there because I don't know nothing about that. I don't want to. So there are some people, I think that are practical, like you bring them outside and say, okay, this is what we need, and if you could take the ball from day to day and if you show me that you can do it, and that is what we're looking for, then I find people like that should be the ones in school trying to help people, like help children learn sports. So a practical, I find it's basically needed in schools for interviews. Basically at not only schools, but anywhere you go to get a job. And again, I say that because I have been applying for a job at a school. I'm a national athlete, and I played football, netball, volleyball, basketball, cricket, and I still used to a shot put, javelin, and discus for me. Right? And I've been applying to work at a school to be a coach or a teacher, and they're just not picking me. I don't know why. They're just not calling me. And I went to TAMTC and do physical education and sports just to become a teacher. And nothing came out of that. When I went in there, it's like friend. That person know that one, so then they pull it that one because I'm a friend. That person. It's basically that what's been going on. And I think people need to really change that aspect of hiring people and putting one that everybody can get a chance. Because sometimes no, I'm just saying, because sometimes people are not educated, but they know what they're about. I am educated, but I'm just saying on behalf of people who are not, they know what they're about. As somebody was talking about with the computer, I don't know if somebody said it, but yeah, if you put me in front of a computer and you say, well, let me see if you could use a computer. You don't have to be experienced. You just have to know what you're about, and you'll have to see the person could do it. So all I say is experience experience is not really, the word experience is vague. Very, very vague, because I can say experience. You have to have experience in playing football. Okay, yeah. I experienced because I went to that school and I went and do football, but then me, while growing up, I was a football player, so then I have experience of playing football. I don't have experience of learning about football in school, but I have experience of playing football. So I find the person who could do it, they're better off in there than somebody who only knows about it.
Thank you, Donna, for your comment. And I do believe it's what many persons have been saying, and of course, the panelists.
Good night, everyone, honorable ministers. First of all, I'd like to say this is what we need. We need community engagement, so thank you for that. My question is, so we hear a lot of talk about training and employment, and we live in an era of inclusivity, and I don't hear anything about people with learning disabilities or people who are physically challenged. So this young man right here, that's my neighbor Daryl, and he has a learning disability. And without his community supporting him, he would not have been employed today. And I know a lot of young people who have learning disabilities and mentally challenged and are unemployed, or they get a hold on somewhere and they still get it underpaid because some of them can't count or whatever. So what are the government's policies or programs in place to assist these young people in particular with finding employment, and not only finding employment but being independent?
Thank you. Excellent question.
All right, thank you for the question. In fact, the Ministry of Social Community Development actually is about to roll out a program. It's called the Agenda Program. It's specifically targeted persons who are differently able, physically challenged, with disabilities, and specifically targeting women as well. Cabinet actually approved it on Monday. So the PR will be rolled out around it. And one of the things that in fact we inherited it. So a lot of the applicants and so on may have been selected already. But what I've asked the Minister of Social Development to do is to make sure that it is widely publicized. Obviously, I try and target the communities that will have the data about who are the persons who are so impacted, so that they can get access to this. It involves a number of things, from things like mark making, another specific business tactics that persons can use the skill sets to be able to earn income. So that's part of it. But we also recognize in terms of physical challenges and so on that our special schools that assist a lot of the young persons who have no challenge with hearing impediments also need to special attention, and need to make sure that the resources are given so that they're not forgotten. And we don't just focus on main school education. So it's something that the Ministry of Social Community Development, Ministry of Education is acutely aware of. And I think and more and more as time goes on, because people are advocating a lot more for us to make sure that we are inclusive and we move forward. I've been certainly serious issue that we do not intend to leave such persons. So look out for the program. Certainly what we will be doing is making sure that the community groups, the parliamentary offices and so on are aware of it. And to make inquiries to ensure that persons are included in training and so on. And it's fun.
Good night, everyone. Good night, panel.
Good night.
My question is, as we are seeing with the war in Ukraine against Russia and the fluctuation in prices, as we are still a developing country, will there ever be a consideration increasing minimum wage?
Yes, that's the answer. It's not just a consideration. We've constituted what is called the Wages Advisory Council. It's one of the first bodies we staffed, and we expect that the Wages Advisory Council will begin the process of going around the country and consulting with all citizens about what should be the adequate minimum wages across all sectors. So that's one of the things we will be engaging in consultations in. If it doesn't start this year, I certainly expect it to start early next year, with the view that we can wrap this up perhaps within 12 months or so that we can come back and adjust that. So I certainly expect that on our government, the question of the minimum wage will be addressed.
Thank you. As you can see, my mom is questioning me with the sports because, as a past athlete who wanted to go pro and was not able to. So my club, name is Track Blazers, Mr. Redhead, this question is for you. Some of our difficulties, we recently lost, I don't know if I should be speaking on this, but our sponsorship. So now we are considering other options, like we have to pay membership. Will you guys ever, maybe take into consideration the options to help with the clubs if we are going to be increasing it? And also, especially with the equipment, are you guys going to help with that as well?
Thanks very much for the question. The support to clubs is critical, it's important. There needs to be a proper framework around that and policy, deliberate policy by government to be able to assist clubs. As mentioned earlier, our focus primarily is on grassroots and community level. However, there are very strong clubs that we see very progressive athletes emerging from, and therefore the support is going to be critical. I'll give you just one example. Swimming in the country is a bit localized to St. George, as Pierre mentioned. However, they produce some of the most successful athletes in relation to their size. It's a small association or club. And giving the support to these individual clubs is going to help propel them to where they need to be. Now, what I would say is, as a responsible government, you can come to the Ministry of Youth Sports Culture on 3rd floor and let us have a further discussion about that. Thank you.
But I also want to say this, I don't know who your sponsors were or sponsor was, but I think given the performance of some of our athletes on the international scene, it might be a good opportunity for you to redouble your efforts at sponsorship. Again, that's part of sometimes the training and the help and the professionalism that is required, because sometimes whether or not you get your sponsors, it's not just whether you have good athletes or you produce good athletes, but you have to be able to sell the club, you have to be able to sell the marketing upside for the company or companies that are sponsoring you. So I would say when you're having a discussion with the minister, you should perhaps talk about what your sponsorship needs are, so that whether we as a government can help leverage to try and get sponsors to say these are clubs that you need to sponsor. Because there are a lot of businesses that always talk about a corporate image and so on, but they may not have accessibility to or they just may not know. Or where they're looking, the things they're looking to or the places they're looking to sponsor doesn't necessarily immediately occur to them that a track club is one to talk to. So I certainly think we can also use our knowledge of companies that are talking about wanting to do things in the community to see how we can get them to perhaps meet with you as well and help them getting sponsorship for that.
I'm speaking from a youth perspective. So as youths, we all go through stuff from day to day. You could see it on the streets. We have racism, we have cyberbullying, we have a lot of other things happening to us from day to day. And yes, I know that we have counselors that's supposed to be there to guide us, to assist us, to talk to us whenever needed. But however, they're not living up to it, they're not there. And most of the time, we may not be able to talk to persons close to us, for instance, of fathers, mothers, these kind of things. So is there a system that's going to be put in place where the counselors is concerned, meaning that, okay, train them, make them qualified, so that you in return to talk to them, that you have that trust in them, that you can share certain things, because sometimes we share things with them and then we hear it back out on the streets, and that might cause us, to have suicidal thoughts and different things, that could happen to us.
Just to answer briefly, presently at the Youth Center, the Ministry of Youth has a psychosocial unit. Unfortunately, the situation we inherited is that is only staffed with one person. So you can imagine for the entire nation, one person has to deal with all the concerns, etc. And so that's part in what we need to solve. Dealing with the whole question of suicide, mental challenges, etc. How do we as a government prepare that policy? Again, the issue that you are raising is critical because it could help guide where we direct resources in the future. And we're taking this point on board because I believe, honestly, it's a genuine point and observation that you have raised. Thank you very much.
Let me just say one thing on the matter, right? Very short. Young people, it doesn't matter what you are doing, where you are. Always keep your mind on the Creator. Always. Right? Do not lose sight of that spiritual realm, right? And don't underestimate it. You may go through tough times, but keep your eyes on the man above. And that is the greatest comfort.
Thank you, and I'd also like to say that yes, youths, we depend on other youths, our friends and so for support, but I'm also calling on the adults tonight, the older folks, to be with us, to stand with us in difficult times.
Good night, everyone. Good night, honorable ministers. I have a few questions, basically pertaining to our parish. I didn't realize it was the country or the island we were speaking on issues about. First, I want to highlight the St. David Medical Station. I want to know what's the plans for the station, and two, if it will be possible for us to always have a nurse or a doctor on call at the location to prevent persons from going all the way down to the general hospital for minor issues. Let's say in the night a child has a fever or gastro or something like that. Instead of having to line up for that long period of time, we can have it addressed at that station. Also, the station on a whole needs a revamping, so along with that, we'll let you know the plans. As it relates to adult literacy, it's sad, must I mention, but there are a lot of young persons within my age group or a bit older that cannot read, cannot write. And as such, it will be harder for them to understand basic things. What are the plans to address those issues, whether it is within the communities, the parishes, Grenada on a whole? Because it's just not St. David, but the other parishes. Also, I think most of them would resort to drugs and alcohol because they don't know better. They don't have another avenue. It's like a pie in the sky for them, as you say. My other question is, what are your plans for having a national library? There are persons or young professionals that are studying, that want to probably give their Saturdays off to studying or even reading, and they don't have the avenues to do that. I mean, SU used to offer a service where you can apply for a study pass, but since COVID, they have not resumed that. I myself have been trying to get a study pass for more than 4 years, and it's unsuccessful. So if on island base we cannot get a national library, will there be plans for libraries within the parishes to cater to the needs of us? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the questions. All very good questions. I'll answer the last question first. So the National Library exists. I went to visit it. I visited it maybe 3 weeks ago, and to my shock, the library was in complete disarray. I assumed Ivan had so destroyed the library that it couldn't be opened. And to my one bookshelves for the most part. The roof had been damaged, some windows had been damaged, and so naturally there was water damage. But the real damage is the fact that the library has been closed essentially for what seems like 18 years, since Hurricane Island. So the reality is we intend to open the library. The building has to be repaired. A lot of our national archives are sat there in the heat, and if you know what heat does to paper, you then understand the conditions there. But I didn't have to wear a mask. I thought I went in with all kind of dust masks thinking, well, I'll be dying inside of it. None of that. So as far as I'm concerned, it is nothing short of criminal that this building was allowed to sit there, and not even a temporary roof was put on to allow for people to have access to the library. If you open the library right now, you can walk through. You can look at all the West Indian collections, all of the books that have been stacked there. The archives, I think, from the Governor General's office or some of the places that might have gotten some of it placed on the bottom floor if you're walking from the Carnahan side. But if you got the back step from the financial complex side and you get up on the second floor, you can walk the entire floor. You don't have to jump over the chair, you don't have to jump over the bench, or anything like that. So we intend to reopen the National Library. And as a matter of fact, we intend to have libraries throughout the internet. We obviously have to come to the fund to fix the roof, to repair the windows, and to make sure that the air quality is good for people to breathe. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no reason why the library should have remained closed for the 18 years, and we do not intend to leave that way. So it's one of the things we are quite keen on, trying to make sure we can get the necessary resources and the investment to do. In fact, I think one of the things we will do is to open the library in its current state and invite members of the public, particularly young people, so that they can see the state of the library, and so that they can ask the question, why efforts have not been made much sooner to reopen the library. So we certainly intend to do that. The same applies to the library in St. Andrews and so on. There's really no reason why the library roof should not have been repaired, the windows fixed, and why the library should not have been opened. But obviously now it's been frozen in time for the last 18 years, and so it has to be modernized. You probably have to turn the bottom floor into a resource center. You obviously have to have internet and all that kind of stuff that goes in a modern library facility. But that's one of the things we intend to do. We believe we will get a lot of public support. We believe we will get a lot of donors and sponsors and so on who want to see the library reopen. So that's one of our key priorities in terms of doing that. Second, the medical station in Sydney as well. I'm aware of the terrible condition of the medical station because even when I just got involved in politics, a refrigerator that was intended for my office in Pemuda, I sent it to the medical station when I saw the state of the refrigerator at the medical station. So we campaigned on ensuring that there are regional, that we would upgrade the local or regional medical stations to prevent what you've talked about, which is for minor medical issues. Everybody's going to the emergency ward at the general hospital. That has to stop. And so upgrading the Savings Medical Station is one of our, as an entity, is one of my top priorities. Of course, we have to budget for it. We have to put the resources in. But that's just a physical facilities. We need to follow again. A lot of people are talking about unemployment. If we are going to transform our healthcare, we need about 1,000 nurses, allied health practitioners, doctors, lab techs, etc., etc. That is reality. So there's no point in going and build a nice new spanking hospital if we do not have people who are working in medical field and not prepared to work in medical field. If you want to transform healthcare, we need more Grenadians to actually take part, educate themselves, specifically in things like nursing, lab techs, doctors, and all of the associated stuff. Mechanics, technicians, repairs, X-ray machines, etc., etc., etc. Our goal is to convert Grenada into a medical tourism destination, piggybacking on the presence of St. George University. But that requires people who want to become nurses, who want to become doctors, who want to become allied health practitioners. So for us to get a doctor and a nurse, doctors and nurses to be at the regional clinics, we need to ramp up the number of doctors and nurses we are producing, frankly, by the tens, if not hundreds. Because that's the only way in which we do it. And if we want to open a modern teaching hospital, as we campaign upon, so that medical students can stay additional 2 years and do their rotations in there so we can attract tourists to come in, do medical procedures, etc., etc. We then need to have the nurses and doctors to staff the hospitals. So that is one deliberate policy from an education point of view that we will be pursuing. Certainly there are plans to look at whether we need to do our own nursing school or whether we significantly beef up the nursing program that is available at SU and make sure that more of our Canadians can do so. Because if we build a hospital and open it in 4 years, when you turn it to open the door, you will need hundreds of nurses already trained and engaged and ready to go. We can't be searching for them 4 years after. So it's one of the campaign things we are keen on to have at least a couple of what I call regional medical stations, not just in St. Louis. There's a new polyclinic that's been built in Guelph. That has to be equipped, that has to be staffed, and again, to staff it, you need to have nurses, you need to have more doctors. So that's one of the things we have to plan backward. In 3 to 4 years, our goal is to transform the health sector by having a new hospital constructed, by having all of our regional medical clinics at the level we need. But that requires us, when we get there, to have the nurses, to have the doctors, to have the lab techs, etc. So I'm saying that is a deliberate policy that we do because we need in terms of resource allocation, in terms of scholarships, in terms of paying attention to the nursing school, in terms of leveraging CAMCC. So I would say if someone is thinking about a career choice, COVID-19 has clearly shown that there are ample opportunities in the medical field. And I said, you have to be a nurse or doctor. We get all kind of fancy equipment there, and 2 months later they go. Nobody's repaired. Nobody's maintained it. I mean, from basic things like supplying oxygen in a hospital. They're an imported technician or American Washington to come in to repair the oxygen tanks. I mean, this is basic stuff. So that is part of what we really need to address. So my plan certainly is to work on that. So all of our medical stations deal with breathing. But again, data is important. We've been told that 2,000 people go to the emergency room at the hospital every month. That's 24,000 people a year. That's 1/4 of the U.S. population. And I'm sure of that 2,000, probably 1,900 or 1,500 will probably be treated at the regional level if we have the facilities and the nurses and the doctors. So that's part of what we have to push back. And we have to have the doctors on in the communities. You see all these diabetes, high blood pressure, all of that is non-communicable community disease. It's lifestyle, lack of exercise, too much sugar, too much alcohol, too much processed food, is it or not? So we need doctors that want to come in the communities and say to people in sessions like this, listen, you can't keep drinking rum all day. You're going to lose your leg. It's as simple as that. You need to go and exercise with your children. Right? You need to cut down on the salt. So we can go on and on. So I'm just saying that's part of what we really try to push: community healthcare, primary healthcare, preventive healthcare, dental care. The food we eat, in schools. At least when I was in my time, I got floss, I got fluoride in school. And I never went to a dentist until I was 40. And I had no cavities. Because at the primary level, at the secondary school level, the schools certainly were involved in things like oral dental care, fluoride. The nurses, the doctors would come every semester, everybody will have to brush their teeth, everybody will talk about the floss, everybody will have to use fluoride in the evening night. But it worked. So I'm just saying that's part of what we need to do. There's a third question. Literacy. So that's a challenge. I think since the PRG period, we had a sustained effort in the PRG to eliminate adult illiteracy, but I think there are pockets of it still, and then it also comes with a sort of shame. So sometimes people don't want to admit. I actually know of a couple of young persons, for example, in St. Paul's, like King Roman and so on, who started a program to help teach adults who are illiterate to become literate. And the beginning, a couple will come and then they gradually fade away and so on. So we have to come with a national policy. And I think it's a good opportunity because there's some people, as you said, around your age as well as others who are older. I think it's a good opportunity to get young people, middle-aged people, and older people involved in a dedicated effort to eradicate adult literacy. But it will require us to be sensitive. Because the truth is, many times someone can't figure right, they don't want to admit it. And that's the first barrier you have to overcome. You have to get that admit that you can't read and write and you need help. And that there is no indignity or shame in seeking help. To see how we can get community. So I think it's one of the things that as a nation we can certainly from a volunteer point of view do. So if we know a person, 3-4 persons who are illiterate, we can reach out to them. I certainly will be happy to come myself and be part of the program to encourage the mental counseling and the advice says, okay, we had enough people, we want you to go and do this. And sometimes we just need any children to reach them and to help them and that may make it easier. So it's certainly something that we need to develop a policy on nationally to be able to make sure that we do active. So thank you for that point, and something else active in education and social and community development.
Thank you, PM. Let's put our hands together. One comment and the last two questions, and that's it.
Good night, PM, Mr. Williams and Mr. Richard. I just want to inform the audience here. I know that, they were talking about libraries. I just want to let you all know that there have been a community library meeting for the past 11 years. And we have free after school program. What I did when we started, I sent letters to all the principals of all the schools in St. David, letting them know that there is this program, it's free, the kids come in. We had one Imani training. We got funding from the business community in St. David. So we managed to have two, one is youth student and one time CC student. Also, we had a retired teacher who helped the children. Last year, we got funding from Greenwich for $40,000, and we upgraded the library. So we have brand new computers, right? We have brand new desks, brand new tables. We have tables and chairs for the little children. We have children from 3 to 12, and we have some secondary school students who comes in as well, who were part of the library primary school, and they come in. As I said, we had sent out the letter to all the principals of all the schools, because the building I find is really underutilized. It's a 25 by 35 building that was donated by the Australian High Commission. We got funding for that. As I say, we got free computers, free books. Some of the books I lent it because I think PD6 wants to start a library, and we get so much books that as we get new books, I'm exchanging them and giving it to PD6. I also had helped the church in Monroe, St. Andrew's Church in Monroe, with new shelving, new books, and so on. So it's there, the library is there. It's a community library. It's on a private property because when we got the funding for the material, we didn't have, the land that we initially wanted, somebody used it. And I didn't want to lose that opportunity to lose the money. So we ended up putting on private property. If right now I could get maybe government land to make people feel that it's a community library, it's not my personal library, and more children will come and learn in the school. We had people from Gino. We had several sessions with to do with good touch, bad touch with the kids and teaching the kids about sexual abuse. We had people from social services. We had people from legal aid telling you about how to own your land. So besides the reading itself, there's a lot of things that have been going on for the past 11 years. So PM, in your constituency, there's a library there. We haven't opened because we not get the shelving from Antoine, so we're trying to put the shelf on, so we will open on Monday. So parents, you're free to have the kids come. You don't have to worry about freshmen, they get refreshments. So they can come, they start, they get a refreshment, and we make sure that they go home safe. So the library is available to everybody. Thank you.
Okay, let's try and make it short. We're already over time.
Okay, for good night, Honorable, and everyone. For the adult literacy, as Ms. Pascal said, the PD6, we're trying to start a library. But on my end, I did that before adult classes. It used to be in St. George's because that's where most of the people would recognize they needed help. But after I started, I couldn't do it. But I want to resume it at the current community center. So we're looking for some funds to do the downstairs part of the community center so that we can set up the classroom there. But that's what I'm letting you know now. As soon as it is up and ready, classes will resume, and it's not just for the adults, it is for the children as well, free of cost. My time.
Thank you for...
Good night again. Just a brief point and then a quick question, right? Relating to literacy, Right? The sad thing is, reality tells us that not everyone in our country is on the same literacy level. Right? Some are average, lower than average. The point I'm making has to go with some of the national documents, right, that we have, right? A lot of the national documents that we have, documents like our constituency, levy bills, laws, whatsoever, the words that are used in a lot of our documents, it's a bit over what a lot of our population can read and understand. But we know that reading is not just calling words, but it's also understanding, right? So it will be hard for a lot of persons who are not at a level where they can understand the words that are used in the documents to understand what the documents are trying to tell us. And the documents are for everybody, not just those who can read and understand. So if that's something that can be done in terms of utilizing or using words in those documents so everybody can read and understand, then that would be a good thing, right? Question, it has to do with the financial assistance that is being provided for persons who probably have a small business, who want to start a small business and so on and so forth. Now, and not just financial assistance, but other opportunities as well. Sometimes you will hear that based on where you work and who you are employed by, you cannot make use of those opportunities. And specifically persons who are employed by government. Right? A lot of times you hear, or I hear that you should not or you can't take advantage of those opportunities. I'm specifically asking about the financial assistance for small businesses and so forth. Right? Is it a case where if you're employed by government, you cannot take part or make full use of that opportunity, or that is not the case? Can anybody make use of that opportunity?
Alright, so each instance of financial assistance is to some extent specific. So you have different programs going on at different times. So I think you're probably talking about the existing, what we call CES COVID-19 Secretarial Support Program, which we announced recently. So that program was meant to target specifically people who were impacted by COVID-19, because that's the funds came from the Caribbean Development Bank, and that is what it was earmarked to do. So it was specifically targeting people who lost their jobs as a result of COVID, or businesses who failed as a result of COVID because things were locked down and so on, and people who, to some extent, ended up on the SEED program as a result of COVID. So the intent was to target the most vulnerable in the communities and give them an opportunity, not just to say, hey, $800 for 2 months or $800 for 3 months, but to give them an opportunity to actually, if they had a business idea, to be able to fund the business idea, or if they already had an existing business, help them expand it, and then provide technical training and assistance in doing so. So that is for this specific program. But there are other programs that are ongoing. For example, one program called SITE, Climate Smart Agriculture, which is also targeting startup businesses. So I don't know that there's a criteria that says if you're a public servant, you cannot take part in that, for example. For example, if you are a public servant, but you could be doing climate smart agriculture, you could be 8 to 4, 9 to 5 on the government job, but on the weekends in the afternoon, you could be engaging in agricultural practices in any given field that is looking at how you harvest rainwater, how do you use solar power to do a greenhouse that allows you to do lettuce or tomatoes, etc. In those circumstances, I see no reason why you should not benefit from those programs. Caribbean Development Bank, GIEC, they always have small business training, and the reality is we need to hustle, right? You cannot survive on the $1,500 or $200, whether it's a government job or a private job only. I mean, as an employee, you can't go and get into a job where you compete with your employer, because you have to be a good fit to the employer. But if it's not something where you're competing with, and if you're not doing it on the employer's time, for example, weekend, then certainly you should be able to benefit. So I'll give an example. If you work as a clerk in a registry, but you could do baking on the weekend, I see no reason why, if you have a good solid business plan,
You should not be able to go to GED or NGIDC or Rural Development Unit or Rural Development Enterprise or whatever acronyms they go by to be able to say, this is my business plan, this is when I go. Because remember, you own the business and hire other people and they can do things. So we do not have a policy that says simply because you are a public servant that you should not get access to the ability to some of these microfinance and small business enterprise initiatives.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night to everyone again. My thing is music. What is the government's aim on developing the music? I have been a Calypsonian for about 11 to 12 years. And I've won Junior Calypso twice. And it wasn't for my bravery where I watched at the Carnival Frolic and I told my mom that I want to be on that stage next year. It wasn't for Teacher Eddie or Teacher Nikki who has the love for the Calypso culture where they take their time to sit and write 10 songs for each individual to be able to have the Calypso going among the youths. The scholar and rootsman will not be there forever. If you're not investing in the youths, Calypso will die. If you notice as well, the folk dance, our little culture has also died. So what is the government's aim to continue or to invest to keep our culture going? And also, on the music, the instruments. I've also noticed by singing Calypso for many years that it's the same, different tents have the same band members. And they keep interchanging. And if we have something or a school where the government is investing, because school, music is expensive, the instruments are expensive, the classes are expensive. So how, if we can start at an education level where each school teaches music and teaches our culture, to not let it die. Thank you.
Alright, and that's a very beautiful way for us to end tonight's forum with the Prime Minister's response.
Well, I think you have the answer to the question, which is you have to teach culture in school. You have to teach creative arts. Do you know that CXC, what do you call it, CSEP? We just add extra thing to make it more complicated. Do you know that one child started music in the entire country? One. There was one entrant for music. So it means as a country we have to re-look how we see creative arts. Right? Music. There are some things, well, this is a democracy. But there are some things that will make mandatory in school. Sports will be mandatory. Honest, and to the minister's point, it doesn't always have to be the physical sports. Whether it's chess, whether it's badminton, tennis, swimming, football, whatever. You should be playing these sports in school. And you should be learning to play music as well. Whether it's drumming, clarinet, guitar, saxophone, we can go on and on. You should be learning to do those things as well. If as you get an adult, you want to abandon it, that's fine. But that's part of the art form, creative arts, is part of the holistic development of people. But outside of that, all of the things that make most of the money in the world we know. Music is $1 billion industry. $1 billion industry. And I don't just mean music here, but people who sing. I'm talking about people who play music, people who write music, people who read music, people who teach music. You know, sound engineers, we can go on and on and on and on. But again, we don't expose our population to that reality. And we make them feel music is not just calypso. Right? And we can take the same thing with dance, theater, performing arts, acting. How many kids grow up in real saying I want to be a movie star? 50-60% of the movie stars in Hollywood are not from America. They're from Australia, they're from England, they're from Canada, they're from India, they're from all over the world. because that's a career that you can pursue. It's not easy, you know. So I'm saying somebody who grew up saying around their model. You say around their model, you laugh you off. Right? But the reality is that's a normal career. And it doesn't have to be the running models, there's all kinds of models. There's fingernail models, toenail models, body doubles, you know, all kinds of things. Right? When these old actors and so on are acting, you think it's their body looking at them, you know, they have a body double, they're taking a young person's body and superimpose it. So I'm saying this to say that's part of all the exposure and the change in our education system has to drive. But I can certainly say to you, we certainly intend to encourage as much as we can to make things like music, creative arts. There's a real cultural foundation. That is the kind of thing that we need to teach local job, teach mass media, teach wire-bending. COVID-19 would have been a perfect opportunity to use the time to do those things, to teach people to play the guitar. How many young men you see being taught to play the guitar? You taught to play drum. Those are just normal things that should be taken back in schools. You know, so I'm saying this to say that's where somewhere along the line we missed the clock. If we got to do those things, there will be no need for the man program. Because when people come out in school in their pod, they would be well-rounded individuals who are confident. And you have the hustle, whether it's in creative economy, ICT, agriculture, fishing, I've talked about this repeatedly. Or formal education system pretends that we're Africa, that we are a continent, we are a little island in the ocean, and nobody knows how to fish, nobody knows how to preserve fish. We're not protecting our forests, we can go on and on. Something that's the failing of the education system because it's divorced from the reality of where we live on an island. And the sea therefore is perhaps more important than the land. So it's a lot of work to do. Somebody has to start. Another generation will continue, and so on and so forth. So thank you very much, but I certainly expect that we will see improvements in things like the music and the creative industry at the forefront.
During the forum, because they had other engagements to attend. At this point, I would like to call on Javon Bartholomew, the vote of thanks, but I also want to remind you that there are refreshments, they're not on sale. There are refreshments, so please don't run off, and if you are, just grab yourself something from one of the pretty ladies at the back.
You're not the hustler, you should sell refreshments.
Can we say this free? I guess PM say we should sell it. So next forum PM, we'll sell the refreshments. Alright, Mr. Baton.
Good night again to everybody. Honorable Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, Honorable Andy Williams, to the audience. I just want to say a special thanks to the organizers of this evening's forum. As young persons, young people, a lot of times we can tend to later feel like we do not have a voice or it doesn't matter, and that's definitely not the case. It's said that we are the future, but we are also the present. Yeah, so we need to be heard, right? So thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be heard, and to the panelists, thank you for listening. Thank you for hearing us. All right. I do hope that the many things that we would have asked and inquired about, the suggestions and points that we would have given would be implemented if possible, right? And we may see needed changes that would benefit us as young persons and generations to come, all right? I just wish to commend the NDC, St. David Youth Arm, for organizing and hosting such an impressive youth forum. We can all agree, definitely, that it was very informative and exactly the type of meetings youth should be engaging in. Thank you to Miss Jacqueline Blood Miss Mariah Sylvester for ushering the presence of God in today's forum. To the chair of the St. David Youth Arm, Ms. Heidi Charles, a special thanks is extended to you for delivering such an excellent speech and informing us of the objectives of this movement. Most of all, my appreciation goes to our panelists. Please join me in thanking this fantastic panel. Being an expert in the field, you have shared some noteworthy information with the audience. We are grateful for your willingness to participate in the event and to share your views about such crucial topics. Thank you for your time and efforts that help make the event a success. A heartfelt thanks to our chairperson and very close friend, Ms. Abigail Ellis. And deepest thanks to the audience who have participated in the youth forum. Without your participation, and your presence, our efforts to build a sustainable and resilient communities will be in vain. Once again, thank you everybody for being present and for participating. Get home safely, everybody.
Thank you, Javon, for saying thanks. I would also take this opportunity to extend a heartfelt thanks to Just School Photos.
Just School is fine.
Just School is a check. Thank you kindly for streaming today's services. Thank you. Our heartfelt thanks also to the Polo Division and 06. And we look forward to seeing you guys next month. We're on an even hotter topic, right? And there will be Google Forms available. You can find it on the NBC page, whereby you can share your feedback and also make suggestions as to what the next hotter topic should be. Have a good night, guys. Get home safely. The refreshments are once more free.